Dr. Anderson took me to another part of the facility to show me where the virus came from.
How confident are you that the coronavirus came from bats?
So I'm probably 90% confident that the new coronavirus came from bats.
The initial contamination, she says, likely happened here at a filthy animal market in Wuhan, China. Someone there, she believes, butchered a bat, came into contact with its blood or urine, and then touched his or her mouth or nose.
Well, if you look at the genetic information of the virus, and that's what we do when we sequence. So the genetic information has basically, that's what the genome of the virus has. And this indicates what the provenance is from. So the genetic information is like a barcode. And if we compare other viruses that have been collected in bats, and the SARS from 2003 was a bat virus also, and it's very similar to our current SARS-CoV.
Africa was the only place that was kind of, untouched by that. So it was very strange when Bill Gates decided to donate $5 million to Africa.
4 U.S. senators, including Intelligence Committee Chair Richard Burr, reportedly sold stock before coronavirus fears sent the markets plunging.
And as Congress is dealing with the brutal economic fallout from the crisis, reports that at least 2 senators sold off stocks after receiving official coronavirus briefings before the markets tanked.
While Americans are looking to Congress for help during this tough economic time, several senators are reportedly having helped themselves. On January 24th, senators were given a closed-door briefing on the coronavirus by top health officials. Over the next few weeks, several senators reportedly sold hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of stocks. Senate Intel Chairman Richard Burr sold up to $1.7 million worth. Senator Dianne Feinstein sold up to $6 million worth. Senator James Inhofe sold up to $400,000, and Senator Kelly Loeffler dumped up to $3 million and bought shares of Oracle and Citrix.
Bob Iger will step down as CEO of Disney, but effective immediately. Investors have reason to be surprised. Iger had recently signed an extension to his contract. Now, he will remain as executive chairman through next year. And the former head of Disney Parks, Bob Chapek, will take the CEO job.
Welcome back. Bit of bombshell news yesterday from one of the world's richest technology giants, Google's co-founder, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, immediately to step down as CEO and president, respectively, of the parent company Alphabet.
You might have missed it with the carnage today in the markets. I know the last couple of days have been terrible. But we got some big news in the financial technology space. Longtime MasterCard CEO Ajay Banga, the man who took the company from a $26.5 billion credit card business and turned it into a $301 billion financial behemoth, has announced he'll transition to the role of executive chairman by year's end. He's going to be replaced by a man by the name of Michael Miebach, who's a longtime MasterCard hand, who's currently the chief product officer. We've been a huge fans of Ajay.
Nike CEO Mark Parker stepping down from the company in January of 2020.
CEO of one of Las Vegas's largest employers is stepping down.
Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates stepping down from the board of directors of Berkshire Hathaway and Microsoft.
How do you stay encouraged about the economy and your 401k savings when the CEO of your company jumps ship in the midst of the storm? How do you remain faithful to your belief system when the very leader of your assembly has no answers for the pandemonium that's taken place? I want to start this teaching off with a word of encouragement to all who have lost hope based on the elevated terms turmoil that's on full display all around us. Then we'll deal with some key prophecies that addresses the current state of this world. Revelation chapter 5 verse 4 through 7 says, "And I wept much because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders said unto me, Weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book, and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, and of the 4 beasts, in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of Elohim, sent forth into all the earth. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne." The entire book of Revelation highlights the re-entry of the Hebrew Israelite Messiah. The Hebrew word for revelation is galah, which means to open, discover, advertise, reveal, uncover. Chapter 1 gives a vivid and unquestionable description of the dark Hebrew Israelite Messiah. Not only does chapter 1 gives the physical description of the Negro Messiah, but it also describes the intensity in his eyes as he sees the current state of his people, Israel, and what they had become and the things they had to endure. John sees Yahweh holding a sealed roll in the palm of his hand. He sees Yahweh extending the sealed roll outward, poised to hand it to someone if a person can be found worthy enough to open it. For a moment, it appeared that there was no one worthy to open this sealed roll. John says not a single man in heaven nor on earth was worthy to open this sealed roll. John witnessed a mighty angel who was so strong with power and authority that his voice echoed throughout heaven and throughout the earth. He shouted with a great voice and asked a question that penetrated throughout both realms. Who is worthy to open the roll? Who is worthy to loosen the seals? For a moment, it appeared that not a single person was worthy to open the sealed roll. Not a single angel nor any of the 24 elders were worthy to loosen the sealed roll. Not a single politician, not a single statesman, educator, scientist, minister, prophet, astrologer, magician was found worthy. Not a single person among the dead, including the forefathers of Israel, were worthy of loosening the sealed roll. At that moment, John began to break down and cry. At that moment, it appeared that John's hope was lost, but suddenly he heard a voice from one of the elders. "Weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah prevailed." Likewise, I encourage all who have lost hope because of all the things we are witnessing today. Weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah prevailed. Undesirable effects. In everything we do that's contrary to Yahweh has side effects. In all the man-made medications, there are side effects. Even the lifestyle we choose to live has side effects. The Oxford Dictionary definition of side effects says a secondary, typically undesirable effect of a drug or medical treatment. For example, rapid leg movement, which is also called restless leg syndrome, RLS, and periodic limb movement disorder, PLMD. It is a repetitive cramping or jerking of the legs during sleep. It is the only movement disorder that occurs only during sleep, and it is sometimes called periodic leg or limb movements during sleep. Periodic refers to the fact that the movements are repetitive and rhythmic, occurring about every 20 to 40 seconds. PLMD is also considered a sleeping disorder because the movements often disrupt sleep and lead to daytime sleepiness. Mirapex is a medication used to treat restless leg syndrome, in other words RLS, or periodic limb movement disorder, PLMD. The side effects are nausea, dizziness, drowsiness, lightheadedness, trouble sleeping, constipation, headache, or dry mouth may occur. The serious side effects includes feigning, mental or mood changes such as confusion, depression, hallucinations, memory problems, unusual strong urges such as increased gambling, increased sexual urges, increased difficulties moving or walking, muscle cramps or spasms, unusual posture changes such as the neck or body bending forward, restlessness, decreased sexual ability, increased shakiness, in other words tremor, stiffness, swelling of the ankles or feet, chest pain, fever, unusual fast, slow, irregular heartbeat, muscle pain or weakness, unusual tiredness, signs of kidney problems such as change in the amount of urine, vision changes. In a nutshell, the side effects will stop the leg from moving because ultimately the side effects can kill you. What's interesting, at night is when you see most of the drug commercials, and during the day is when you see class action lawsuits filed against them. What is a witch? What image comes to mind when you think about a witch or a witch doctor? Is it a woman with a large bump on her nose, wearing all black, green face, riding a broom and standing over her famous crystal ball? Is it a black woman that has a bone in her nose and her eyes to the back of her head while gyrating? Is it a man with locks, Creole accent, and tossing chicken bones on the ground? What is your perception of a witch? We've been institutionalized in how and what we think about witches. Let's get a better understanding of witches, warlocks, witch doctors, witchcraft. To do this, let's go to Galatians chapter 5, verse 19 through 21. It says, "Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envying, murder, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Yahweh." What is the works of the flesh? The works of the flesh is the works of iniquity. The Greek word for iniquity is pronounced anomia, which means violation of the law, wickedness, transgression of the law. The Hebrew word for iniquity is pronounced awan, which means to crook, pervert, do perverse, do wickedly, do wrong, to bend, twist, distort. What Galatians chapter 5 verse 19 through 21 is actually saying is that a worker of iniquity is a person who pervert, bend, twist, distort, and promote the violation of the law of Yahweh. There are laws that govern every aspect of our lives. There is laws of physics, the law of astronomy, the law of nature, the laws of motion, the law of chemicals, the law of medicine, just to name a few. Let's confirm this with scripture. Matthew chapter 7 verse 22 and 23 says this: "Many will say in that day, Adonaiah, Adonaiah, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have we cast out devils? And in thy name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye worker of iniquity? A worker of iniquity is someone who operates in rebellion. It is someone who resists and rebels against authority. A key weapon of a worker of iniquity is the usage of witchcraft, which is a form of rebellion. Based on the biblical description of a worker of iniquity, which is synonymous to a witch, they are false teachers of the scriptures. They hide behind the titles of a bishop, apostle, pastor, evangelist, and etc. Many of them are bending, twisting, and distorting the commandments of Yahweh. The scripture gives a stern approach in handling those that are operating in witchcraft. Exodus chapter 22 verse 18 says, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." Again, what is a witch? What is a witch?
Basketball legend Dwayne Wade opening up about the moment his 12-year-old came out to him and wife Gabrielle Union as transgender. TJ Holmes is here with this story. Good morning, TJ.
Good morning. And Dwayne Wade's oldest son is a big-time high school basketball player. We've seen video of him over the years on the sideline rooting for his kid. Well, what you don't know and some don't realize is that he has also very publicly been rooting for and cheerleading for another of his kids. His second oldest, who we've known as Zion over the years, is now Zaya, and D-Wade is being given credit for giving a master class in how to support your LGBTQ+ child.
I don't know if everyone knows, originally named Zion born as a boy, came home and said, hey, so I want to talk to you guys. You know, I think going forward, I'm ready to live my truth. And I want to be referenced as she and her. I would love for you guys to call me Zaya.
What about your dad's sense of style? How would you describe it?
I feel like you guys are kind of on the same page. It's very kind of this like old school black man coming into the new world, you know? And by that I mean, no, this is what I mean by that. This is what I mean
black
by
man
no,
coming into the new world.
Old school. And this is what I mean by that. You remember those long suit coats. Original Kings of Comedy. I watched it last night. It was on. Yeah. So I know what I'm talking about.
I know each other.
And then we all moved into our tailored, new fabrics, new textures. We learned about textures. Look at you.
Yeah.
Colors. Yes. We moved on. He's in Tom Ford now. He's very tailored.
Yeah.
We had to make that transition.
I'm on the pill.
I'm on the pill.
I'm on the pill.
I'm on the pill too.
But it's not birth control. It's Truvada for PrEP, a once-daily prescription medicine for adults that when taken every day along with using safer sex practices can help lower my chances of getting HIV through sex.
I use condoms, but I talked to my doctor about doing more. He said that because I had a higher chance of getting HIV through sex, Truvada for PrEP could be an option.
Raymond Gallagher jogs to the Wallkill River National Wildlife Refuge, but he had no idea he was crossing paths with gender-crossing fish.
This is really concerning for me because, you know, I like this area, I live around this neighborhood.
Over the last several years, the U.S. Geological Survey has tested the water and nearly 300 fish in 19 wildlife refuges in the Northeast, including the Wallkill River and Morris County's Great Swamp. It found that something in the water is tampering with the hormones of 85% of the male smallmouth bass and a quarter of the male largemouth bass and causing them to develop female reproductive traits.
Let's start with defining a witch doctor. Merriam-Webster Dictionary says, a witch doctor, which is a noun, is a professional worker of magic, usually in a primitive society who often works to cure sicknesses. The Etymology Dictionary definition of magic says, art of influencing or predicting events and producing marvels using hidden natural forces. Sorcery, one of the members of the learned and priestly class. Magician, priest. A witch doctor, in Hebrew pronounced Kashap, is a priest who specializes in the art of influencing and manipulation. What's the difference between a witch doctor and a witch? The Etymology Dictionary definition of the word witch says, female magician, sorceress, a woman supposed to having dealings with the devil or evil spirits. Sorcerer, wizard, man who practices witchcraft or magic. Divination, necromancer, one who wakes the dead. A witch doctor is a professional worker of magic, which is synonymous to witchcraft. The etymology dictionary definition of witchcraft says magic, power, skill. The Greek definition of witchcraft pronounced pharmakia, which means medication, in other words, pharmacy, magic, sorcery. The proper image of a witch doctor, and a witch extend well beyond the stereotypes. Properly understanding the Greek word pharmakia should change your image of what you think a witch and witchcraft is. Most of us have no idea that most of our local doctors, pharmacies, and pharmaceutical companies are actually witches operating in witchcraft. Let's expose some of the sorceries of these witches, starting with the manipulation of the hormone estrogen. The manipulation of this hormone is used to emasculate men. Estrogen is an entire class of related hormones that includes estriol, estradiol, and estrone. Estriol is made from the placenta. It's produced during pregnancy. Estradiol is the primary sex hormone of childbearing women. It is formed from developing ovarian follicles. Estradiol is responsible for female characteristics and sexual functioning. Estrone is widespread throughout the body. It is the main estrogen present after menopause. So how impactful is estrogen? How is it used as a form of witchcraft? How does estrogen impact men? The National Geographic's article, "Why Are the Male Fish Growing Eggs?" says this: scientists from the U.S. and Wildlife Service and the U.S. Geological Survey study fish in 19 national wildlife refuges in the U.S. Northeast, including Mississippi. Their conclusion: an astonishing 60 to 100% of all the male smallmouth bass they examined had female egg cells growing in their testes. Over the past decade, feminized male fish have been discovered in 37 species in lakes and rivers throughout North America, Europe, and other parts of the world. Expert says that new discovery in protected wildlife refuges is worrisome because it suggests that pollution may be even more pervasive than previously thought. What scientists don't know is what these feminized fish portend for the health of these species, for the environment, and perhaps for humans too. When fish are getting intersex, it's probably a good indication that something is wrong in the environment, says Vicki Blazer, a researcher at the U.S. Geological Survey National Fish Health Research Library in West Virginia. It goes on to say in the section titled "Female Eggs in Male Testes," this is what it says: intersex males don't look outwardly different than normal males. In fact, federal scientists uncovered the condition by accident in the Chesapeake Bay watershed in 2003. They were conducting a post-mortem examination to determine the cause of a smallmouth bass die-off when they found male fish with female egg cells in their testes. This is coming from an article by NBCnews.com. Male fish becoming females. It says estrogen mimickers are believed to be caused by chemicals called nanophenols found in everything from paints and rubber to cosmetics and plastics. They are considered a possible of kidney, eye, liver, and reproductive problems. They have been banned in much of Europe and are under review in Canada, but are still common in America, where they are flowing out of sewage plants and into clean water flowing into America's rivers. Government researchers recently found natural estrogen and estrogen mimickers in 80% of the streams they tested in the United States. In an article from Livestrong.com titled "High Estrogen Signs and Symptoms in Men," it says this: while estrogen is generally known as a female hormone, But a man's body also produces small amounts of estrogen, which is important for normal development and function of the male reproductive system. However, an abnormally high level of estrogen can have major effects on a man's body, possibly interfering with his fertility and sexual function, and potentially raising his risk of certain chronic diseases. Fertility problems, breast enlargement, and erectile dysfunction are among the signs and symptoms that might signal a high estrogen level in a man. Estrogen is used in hormone replacement therapy. In an article from UCSF Transgender Care titled Information on Estrogen Hormone Therapy, it says estrogen is the hormone responsible for most female characteristics. It causes the physical changes of transition and many of the emotional changes. Estrogen may be given as a pill, by injection, or by a number of skin preparations such as a cream, gel, spray, or a patch. Many trans women are interested in estrogen through injection. Estrogen injections tend to cause very high and fluctuating estrogen levels, which can cause mood swing, weight gain, hot flashes, anxiety, or migraines. Additionally, little is known about the effects of these high levels over the long term.
Show us 80-45. It's starting tonight already, huh? Stephanie, go around. There's a patient on the other side.
Morreu.
Yo, help me out. Yo, stop! Don't bust that window, man. I'm showing the ambulance this shit, man. The ambulance gotta see this. Now let him go. He might chase y'all or something. Still. Yeah, he going through it. Get out! Yo, please! Back! Fuck that, man!
They're responding to an emergency call for a bad reaction to K2, a drug made in a lab to mimic the effects of marijuana.
Can you look at me? Open your eyes.
Look at me. What did you do tonight?
What'd you smoke tonight? 3 bags of what? Did you smoke K2 tonight? Yeah? So what's going on? How you feeling right now?
It's cheap. It's able to be replicated. It's sold openly in stores like bodegas, and it's just playing off of the homeless population.
A new synthetic killer drug known as Flakka is spreading rapidly across the United States and already causing an epidemic of overdose fatalities and acts of violence.
We're talking about Flakka.
Flakka.
The drug is called Flakka. Some have dubbed it the insanity drug.
And it's everywhere. It's been described as the scariest drug in the world. More powerful than heroin or cocaine.
This is a synthetic drug that can alter your state of mind, raising excited delirium, body temperature, and literally losing their mind.
They're all experiencing like superhuman kind of strength.
Or it takes 6 policemen to hold them down. That's a problem.
Psychotic breakdowns, hallucinations,
aggressive, violent behavior,
cannibalism.
let's expose another sorcery of these witches, starting with a synthetic drug called K2, spice, or synthetic marijuana. This is coming from an article by the New York Times titled 33 Suspected of Overdosing on Synthetic Marijuana in Brooklyn. It says this: there is a word that local residents and workers use to describe a group of drug users whose presence they say has grown around a busy Brooklyn transit hub: zombies. What was once a few familiar faces has turned into a tribe of strangers, walking around, staggering, and looking lost. Hand-painted wooden signs with a simple message: no smoking K2. On Tuesday, the long-standing problem became a local crisis on this gritty patch on the border of two developing neighborhoods, Bedford-Stuyvesant and Bushwick. In the area around the subway station at Myrtle Avenue and Broadway, emergency workers transported 33 people who were suspected of overdosing on K2 to hospitals. The police said the powerful drug, also known as spice or synthetic marijuana, has grown in popularity in recent years, despite public warnings. In an article by the Daily Beast titled "How Pfizer Helped Make Spice the Deadly Fake Pot," it says, in 1979, 3 researchers at Pfizer, the pharmaceutical giant, came up with a synthetic cannabinoid, a drug that in some ways acts similarly to the active ingredients in marijuana. What the company did with this research, it won't say. But decades later, a designer drug marketed as fake pot began to emerge, first in Europe, later in America, that went on to be blamed for contributing to tens of thousands of trips to the emergency room. One of the 5 active substances in that fake pot, also known as spice or K2, was the synthetic cannabinoid first discovered at Pfizer. But drug research often walks a fine line between medicine and recreation, making the history between drug abuse and big pharma closer than the latter would like to admit. Pfizer's connection to K2 would by no means be the first major drug to have roots in commercial enterprises. Heroin is considered by many to be a bare trademark. LSD was invented by Sandoz. Merck developed MDMA, but never used it in humans. But if Pfizer's role in the latest designer drug mess is known, it is only by a handful of people. The DEA is surprised to hear of their involvement and says they cannot confirm it.
There is a growing outbreak of a mosquito-borne virus that is linked to birth defects.
Between 2015 and 2016, an outbreak spread across South America, reaching as far as the United States.
The CDC is advising pregnant women to avoid travel to 14 countries and territories in Latin America and the Caribbean.
Recife, Brazil, was ground zero.
7 em uma semana, 4 em mesmo dia.
Now the hundreds of babies here, dubbed Generation Zika, have grown into children facing an uncertain future. Doctors here remain on alert, bracing for the next outbreak.
Not a question of if, just a question of when.
Now to a developing headline in the Zika virus outbreak. Late word about some of the victims here in the United States. Now 36 cases in 12 states, and we now know 4 of those infected are pregnant. The virus, as we have reported, linked to a serious birth defect, babies born with their brain development interrupted. So what can those mothers do now, and what a top U.S. health official is saying now about the real risk here at home?
We put on repellent to protect ourselves from the mosquitoes that carry the virus.
And Florida has approved the release of 750 million genetically modified mosquitoes to combat mosquito-borne diseases. The pilot project is aimed at reducing the number of mosquitoes that carry diseases like dengue fever, or the Zika virus. The genetically modified male insects carry a protein that will kill off any female offspring before they are mature enough to bite people. They will be released in Florida Keys in 2021.